Hello, I'm probably riding my bike. A week in Tokyo, I'm a lucky guy, and I felt this one day deserved its own video. I'm heading out west of Tokyo to go to MKS, a pedal factory. I'm taking a couple of trains, and Tokyo rush hour is notorious for squeezing on the train. So I'm leaving extra early, so I'm not causing a problem or interfering with anyone's commute. First I need to pack my bike in a rinko bag. I just took the front wheel off, attached it to the frame securely, and put it in the bag. I think you can disassemble even more, but I feel like this is small enough. I think you can take your bike on any train in Japan as long as it's covered in a bag like this. Once you're on the train it's fine, but carrying your bike through the station on your shoulder is pretty heavy and uncomfortable. To my relief, the train wasn't too busy. I think I was heading the opposite direction to all the early morning commuters. Just an hour's train ride west out of the city centre. The pedal factory is in Saitama. I got on the end carriage on the train because I believe there's a bit more space for putting bikes in that carriage. I had to stand just for the first couple of stops and then had a comfortable journey sitting down the whole way, enjoying the changing of the drivers. And I've arrived. Basically a suburb of Tokyo. It feels a lot more open with a bit more green space. Quite a nice little town. A simple reassembly of my bike and I was good to go. At the station I was met by Yuba, who is the manager at MKS, who kindly invited me for a factory tour. And even more kindly, he organised for the local Rivendell Bicycle Society, Riv Soc, to come and join the ride. It was so cool to meet fellow Rivendell lovers, see their bikes, talk about bikes, even though we couldn't speak the same language. I think the language of bikes is universal. Greeted with some cool, fresh watermelon when we arrived at the factory. That was a nice touch. And we did a bit of a bike check. Again, it was wonderful to meet some internet friends in real life. And this Hillborn with the hitch bags set up was awesome. Really loved meeting this guy. We also had some visitors from Nitto, which was really cool to meet them. They had some really special Rivendells, like this 650B made in USA Rivendell, which I think was one of the originals. So beautiful, really nicely set up. Just a dream bike, very special and unique. And this original Rivendell road bike, just look how amazing it is. Some really beautiful lugs. I like how his setup looks like it's the original one that he's had since the beginning. Probably hasn't changed much except for the pedals. Getting some cool factory hats and inside info on some prototype pedals. And also having a look at the history of MKS pedals or Mikashima pedals. Been around since I think the 1930s, making a few different things, but now focusing mostly on pedals. This was one of the first pedals they made. There was an exciting buzz in the room with a bunch of bike nerds nerding over vintage pedals. Some of the bear claw ones were really cool. It was good to see the kind of evolution of the pedals that MKS made, and a period in the 90s when they've had to focus on plastic pedals to keep up with the Chinese production. But now they mostly focus on metal pedals. And an original folding pedal, which would be good on a Brompton. I think they have a new one out too. Time for the factory tour. In our matching hats, you might mistake us for the workers in the factory. Let's go in. Everyone was really super welcoming and smiley and friendly, especially this guy. He showed us how he made some of the spindles. And Yuba was a great host, explaining to everyone else in Japanese and taking the time to explain to me in English. I really appreciated him taking that time. Here's the first part they showed us, making the spindles. No idea what was happening inside that machine, but somehow a spindle came out at the end of it. Or many spindles. Next up was the threading of the spindles at experienced hands.
Yes, it's high density socket, and it's good for.
And Yuba laying out the different steps and stages of the spindles being made. Pretty cool. Next up, we're through to the pressing of the other parts of the pedals. Some pretty sweet machinery, and I think some of this machinery is for making the new Sylvan Works camping stuff too. Can you recognise these pedals? I think they were for the Sylvan touring pedals. Up next were some cool jiggly machines for the polishing. This one looks like a lucky number bingo. This one jiggle wiggles. Can you recognise these pedals? If you're an MKS aficionado, you might notice. Simworks bubbly. It was so cool to see all the parts of the pedals I recognise, and some of my own pedals too. Next up was the hottest room, the hottest part of the day. I think it was about 35 degrees outside. I really admire the people who are working here in this heat every day. It's quite impressive. Some heat treatment, going into the furnace, getting blasted. And an air-conditioned office for the testing. I can't remember what weight they test them on, but it was a lot heavier than your average rider for a lot more revolutions than you might usually ride. And they're pretty good, strong quality pedals. This room is like more the finishing room, I think. Assembly and packaging, and they had some more modern machinery here too. Again, Yuba did an excellent job of explaining to everyone. A great host. And some more familiar pedals to some of us. This guy was specialising in the NJS standard pedals for Kirin track riders. I guess these are the more precision premium pedals. They need to be checked more carefully, a lot smoother with a shinier finish and a better quality, but their normal pedals are good enough for most of us. An awesome tour, and now for an even more awesome ride. I'm just a guy who likes making videos about his bike rides. I never imagined that they would bring me to these kind of experiences. Riding in Japan with some guys with amazing bikes, who love riding bikes just as much as me. after having an awesome tour in an old pedal factory. Pretty sweet. A nice chilled ride out of the city. Some might say party pace. A few of us had a go on each other's bikes, and there was a flat tyre and a couple of mechanical issues on some other bikes, but they were easily fixed. Again, another quick look at my favourite bike of the day. And we arrived at our spot for lunch. Nice little spot in the middle of nowhere, it felt like. But it was only about 30-minute ride from the MKS factory.
Here.
It was a weekday, so we were the only customers. I imagine it's probably quite busy on the weekend because it was a really nice place. And the food was glorious. No idea what any of it's called. But there was a whole round of clean bowl clubs and a nice dark roast iced coffee. Sometimes meeting a big group of new people like this would be pretty scary for me, and I'd be nervous about it. But for some reason this time I felt pretty comfortable before, and certainly during. Everyone was so hospitable and super respectful. It was such a great day. I think when I go back to Japan I'm going to have to come back out again. There was a few people who couldn't make it, and I hope to meet them again in the future. I think if you ever visit Japan and you're into the same kind of bikes as me, it's definitely worth reaching out to people before you go, because you'll have some amazing rides with some cool people. And if you're a Rivendell lover and you bring your Rivendell, definitely reach out to Riv Soc for a ride. There's also a few bike shops in Tokyo who organise some group rides. Wood Village, as I mentioned in my other video, they do some night rides which are super fun, and there's all kind of bikes, really inclusive, anyone can come. Kino Bikes also does a night ride. I haven't joined one of his yet, but I'd love to. And Chromworks as well do the Ojisan rides, but I'm sure it's not just middle-aged men are invited. I think anyone can go. As with any group ride, you've got to get your group photo in. A nice memento for the day. But nowadays I have the mementos of my videos. I enjoy editing my videos because it's like reliving the ride again. And maybe in the future I'll rewatch all the videos too, who knows. Today's ride was pretty hot again, although it clouded over a bit later and the rain was kind of refreshing. I got pretty soaked on the way back to the train station. Even they suggested that I could come to their house and take a shower, but I've been much dirtier on train rides home than this anyway. We all went off in different directions, some people back to the factory, some people back to town. A couple of people joined me back to the train station, where I packed up my bike and headed back to Tokyo. Sodden wet, but with a smile on my face. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I certainly enjoyed the day. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. See you later.